So for my senior portfolio class, the project that we were working on all semester was putting together a portfolio. So I decided to make a book of my concert work just because, it's what I want to shoot, the most. And just, I have a lot of images for it. So, I obviously had enough to make a book out of it as well. So this whole video is just kind of be, the whole process of me essentially, putting together my first photo book. Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is going through my hard drive and looking at all my concert images, just going through each show and pulling out images to kind of which ones I think would work best in my book. So like we have a show right here. So right now, just going through it, each image individually. And if I think they're, good enough, I will move them to my desktop to kind of use for later. So, just kind of going through and looking at each image, think if they're dynamic enough, if they stand well on their own. Or, as well, if they could fit in, well with others and, work for the overall flow of the book. So that's just kind of, where I am right now. And, it's taking a while because I have shot, so many shows and I just have so many images to look through. So, and I don't want to miss any at all. So kind of just taking my time with this. So once I had all the images that I thought could go into my book, it was time to start working on the layout. So the actual size of the book is 11 by 8. And the reason it's that big is because, I wanted it to, be a good sized book. That way, if I have multiple images per page, the images wouldn't be, super small. You'd still, be able to see everything. And also because, I wanted to have some pages where, it's just like an image or two on the actual page itself. Because I think, just my images definitely, do look good big. And that's kind of just like how I like to display concert images as well. I think, displaying them huge just, makes you feel more into the environment. But the layout is definitely the most important part of any body of work, especially in a book of this size and, with how many images I have as well. So I definitely, spent the most time working on the layout. I spent about, 1 to 2 months just working on it, fine tuning everything, making sure it was absolutely perfect before you actually, send it to production. So, just making sure that, the flow of the book worked. I had some, nice breaks in between because, I just had so many images that would be very easily for them to, just be lost in it. And just feel like you're flipping the page and not really paying much attention to the actual images themselves. So I wanted you to make sure the images, speak for themselves. Also just, this isn't a fine art book. So I could definitely, play around with the layout more compared to others. This is concert, it's messy, it's colorful, it's bright, so I could have definitely a lot more freedom playing around with the layout like that. So, every page is actually a different layout as well. I thought that'd be, make it more fun and interesting and, not just kind of repetitive, like, where images are going to be. So I just, definitely had a lot of fun playing around with that. Alright, so today we're in the studio, as you can see behind me, and really what I'm just doing is shooting the front and back cover for my book, along with the inside pages that kind of, connect to the cover, which are kind of like the last kind of key things that I need to finish this book. Alright, so we got the camera and 2 lights set up. For right now, this is what we are going with. My main light is just this little backlight here with a 20-inch degree, and the purpose of it, hence the name backlight, is just to kind of give me some glow to help separate me from the black background, because I am, wearing black. And then we just have another light up front with a 10-inch degree, just to kind of give some front light. And then kind of just the last thing to do, and then we can start shooting, is just put on the, my gear. So this is kind of typically what I would wear when I'm shooting a concert. So we got a, harness here, which can hold 2 cameras. That's, mainly my backup camera with the wide 14 to 24 lens. And then this camera that I'm using right now is going to have the 24 to 70. Then we kind of just have, my little earphones and then kind of like a photo pass, which is what, I'd wear around my neck to kind of know that, I am photo if, the, giant camera and lenses didn't, already give that away. So we actually got this thing on, but things are a little off balance right now because we do only have one camera dangling down. The camera that I'm using to record right now would go right here, but, kind of just what I wanted for, the covers is, kind of just to add a personal touch of me, because, throughout the rest of the book, you don't really see me at all. It's just my images, so, you don't really know who's taking them. So I kind of just wanted to show this, personal touch by adding, a photo of kind of me from the neck to the waist, kind of just seeing all the things that I usually do to, capture the beautiful images that are actually, inside the book. Okay, so now we're moving on to the inside covers, which is going to be kind of like a collage of all of my photo passes that I've gotten from shooting the many shows that I have. And again, kind of simple light setup with 2 lights here. We got my main light here with just a 10-inch degree on it, and then a second kind of light just filling it in more with a 20-inch degree. And then we got the camera up from above to kind of get a nice top-down view of it. Okay, so now that the layout of my book is done, kind of just the last thing that I really need to do is just kind of, resize the images for print and stuff like that. So this is like the layout that I have right now. So, just like all my images are put together, but, all of these images are, the wrong size. These are just, the basic size JPEGs that, when I usually export them after a show. So these are just, those random size. So these aren't the right size for print, the right resolution or anything like that. So what I've been doing is I've been going through, all my hard drives, and just going through, each show and pulling out all of the raw files, so then that I can resize them, make them the right resolution so that they, fit perfectly in the book. But it is definitely, a tedious process just because, like one show I have like, 1,000 images, just for a show. So it is very tedious, just going through each show and picking out, the 1 or 2 images that I need. But it is very important as well, so I just, have to make sure that this is done right. So for the actual printing of the book, I just went with a generic, online photo book making website. Ideally, I would have preferred to go to, like an in-person, like bookmaking store in the city. That way I would have had, full creative control over everything. But, just because of the time restraint of this and, the assignment having a due date, I was unfortunately not able to go that route. So I kind of had to stick with, the online website thing where kind of like it's generic and whatever, options they have, you kind of have to stick with. So I did have to make some sacrifices of, options that I wanted to put in my book as well. Alright, so here was a look at the finished book. When I first, kind of imagined this book, I always thought I was just going to use, a concert image on the front and back covers. But, along the way, it kind of turned into just me being on it. And I do actually, like this more personal touch to it. So it was definitely, a welcome change that happened through the process of making this book. And then for the actual pages themselves, starting off with just that collage of, my photo passes, I think that worked very well and kind of adds a nice little, detail into it instead of just having, all these concert images. And then for the actual layout itself, seeing it on a computer and seeing it in book form is obviously very different, but I think it looks very well. All of these pages flow very nicely. Some of them, like I have just one artist, for a spread. Some of them I have, multiple artists sharing, like the 2-page spread. So I think, the mix of them just works very well. It's not very repetitive. And just, I played around with the layout a lot, had a lot of fun with it as well. Just showing off, all the colors that I like to use when editing. So I think they worked, blended them together very well. Then I also just have, some fun pages like, just a black and white spread of, like my black and white images. And then also like silhouettes at the very beginning, kind of just to, kick it off. So I think all of this, just combined very well into my book, and I'm definitely, very proud of how the layout looks. Now for the actual quality of the book, it's not, the best quality out there compared to, other online printing websites out there. Could definitely get a lot better high quality than what I got. But the reason I kind of had to go with this specific, printing place is because originally I wanted the size of my book to be 12 by 8. And because I originally, I was gonna go in person, so it would have been easier to, get the book the size that I wanted. But because I went the online route, you kind of have to, stick with whatever sizes they give you, and just not really many, photo book places make a book that size. So this place that I printed it with, this was the closest I could get to that 12 by 8, which, ended up being 11 by 8. So that is, really the main reason that I went with this website. The quality is not that great. The pages get, fingerprinted very easily. The matte cover gets, scraped very easily. The gutter isn't very great either, but again, those are just things I had to do in order to get, my book to come in time and kind of just to have, the generic rough size that I wanted the book to be as well. So overall, I think the actual photo book making process turned out pretty well. The only other experience I have kind of putting together a body of work like this is a zine that I did, a year ago now. I think I only had like 30, 40 images in it. So you kind of take that, into now I'm putting together a photo book of, my best concert images that I've shot. I think I ended up with about 150 images in total, spanning across, like almost 80 pages as well. So that is definitely, a lot. It could be very easily to get lost in it and just feel like, you're flipping the page and just looking at so many images could be overwhelming. But I really just did spend a lot of time, nailing my layout, making sure it didn't feel repetitive and, just nice little breeze walk through it. Everything turned out well there. And then also, just coming up with the title and cover as well. I think, everything just turned out kind of the way I imagined it when I, first kind of started making this book. The only really thing that didn't turn out was the actual, print quality of the book itself, which I am completely fine with. If one thing had to go wrong, I would want it to be that instead of something that, I had control over. So, everything on my end worked out perfectly. It was really just, the book itself, the actual quality of the book, which, I'm fine with. I can easily, now that the due date is done, go into, the city and, get it professionally made at a photo book making place, which, I probably will be doing soon as well. But the main purpose of this book is kind of just to show off, how I approach, shooting live music. And, I think it does successfully, show off my style. I do like to play with the colors. I do like to get, close-up shots, wide-up shots. So it's really just kind of a professional made book showing off my talents as a concert photographer. To hopefully, show to people, show that like I'm serious about this. This is what I do. I'm, good at this. Hire me, kind of stuff like that. Like that's kind of what a photo book can be at times. Other times, you can just sell it. Like this is just like a collection of your work as well, which this book kind of could be like that as well. But unfortunately, at the time, I'm not selling this book. This was kind of really just a personal project and actual physical assignment. But next time I definitely do make a photo book or a zine, I will definitely be selling those because I think I am at the place where I can start doing that. But if you want to support me, buy my work, I always have the link to the print shop. Is the first link in the description. It's always there. So can go ahead and buy prints and support me that way. I'm always updating it as well because I'm always shooting. So a lot of images to put up there. So you can just go look through that. But other than that, definitely successfully I think I made this photo book. Definitely hard process, long process as well. So definitely you want to take your time with photo books. And definitely as the first attempt, I think maybe compared to others, I did a pretty good job. But it's really just all about how much work you want to put into this photo book, how many images you have as well, and just how dedicated you are to making sure this photo book represents you as a photographer.